PR campaign, press campaign, public campaign, political campaign, about bringing again back to the table the idea of the two-state solution in the form of the confederation, at least to balance a little bit the extreme debate that we have whether to ruin Gaza or to deport the Palestinians or crazy ideas that are being discussed. So this is a very positive idea. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me here. I don't want to repeat what was said before about Gaza. I would like to propose a possible way forward that would maybe get us out of this catastrophe in Israel and Palestine in the last year and a half, and taking into account, whether we like it or not, that the US is changing its positions dramatically, radically. You know, I'm not going now to criticize the US, it's a fait accompli, and that's the situation that we have to deal with. Just to give you an idea of the changing atmosphere, so I will tell you an anecdote so that you would understand the way things are changing nowadays. Some leaders of the settler movements discussed the new situation with the new American ambassador to Israel, and he told them that they are not tough enough, and they should go even more. I'm talking about the West Bank, because nowadays there is a lot of unrest in the West Bank, and the Israeli settlers, they think that there is an opportunity, they are not mistaken, and so they are being encouraged by the new American administration. So this is the situation that we are facing, again, whether we like it or not. But there is a way forward. And this is the overall Middle Eastern deal, or what is called the Saudi deal, that is being discussed in Washington. I was talking about it with American officials of the new administration. I emphasize not the old democratic, the new direction. And I'm not going to discuss here this idea of Gaza Riviera and stuff like that. You know, by the way, just to make it clear, Netanyahu was surprised to hear about this idea in this press conference. Trump came up with this idea as a surprise, and now he is in love with this idea and he's repeating it. And but there is another thing that he likes, and that contrary to the idea of the Gaza Riviera, this idea of an overall Middle Eastern deal with Saudi Arabia is promoted by American officials and is much more detailed and much more supported by the administration than this vague idea of the Gaza Riviera and transfer of millions of Palestinians. And we must also understand that today, in the changing reality of the world, Trump is the only figure on the international arena that has some influence over the Israeli government and Netanyahu. Unfortunately, not Europe. If there is a Europe, because there are too many positions in Europe, and it's very difficult to have a European decision, and not, for instance, the International Criminal Court or other things like that. It's only the new US administration. And the proof is that Trump actually succeeded in promoting the ceasefire with Lebanon and also with ceasefire with Gaza. This is Trump's doing. It was because of Trump pressure that Israel and Netanyahu, who didn't like those ceasefires so much, signed them because Trump was sort of banging on the table and Netanyahu accepted. So this is what we're dealing with. And so for Trump, and this is according to American officials, Saudi Arabia represents a lot of benefits to the US: trade, energy, oil, weapon contracts, influence, a counterbalance for Iran, big support. And Trump was into this deal in his first term, and now with the second term, it's coming again on the table. Now, the Saudis, and there are, of course, many benefits for this deal for Israel, of course. It means normalization with the maybe most important Arab country after Egypt, with a lot of influence and money and resources. But, of course, for the Saudis, one of the conditions for the deal, and the Saudis are ready for normalization with Israel, is the Palestinian component, meaning that Israel would have to pay by accepting some formula of, as they put it, a horizon for a Palestinian state, a horizon, sort of. Well, that is being discussed. It is something, I agree, a bit vague, but that's the Saudi condition. That's what we have. That's what we have. Now, as far as I can assume, this deal with the Saudi Arabia, which is an overall Middle Eastern deal, is more realistic, I think, for the American administration than the idea of the Gaza Riviera, because this deal with the Saudis and other countries involved would bring much more money to the table and many more benefits to the US. Just let me remind you that after Trump declared the idea of the Gaza Riviera and said that the US is going to take control over the Gaza Strip, senior American officials emphasized that the US is not going to send any troops to Gaza, the US is not going to pay for the Gaza rehabilitation, and the US is not going to run the Gaza Strip. So what is wrested out of these declarations? It's not clear. But the Saudi deal, including a Palestinian component, is, I think, something real. Now again, like you in Europe, facing an erratic and unexpected US administration about Ukraine or Russia, and you're all puzzled and you don't know what to do, and you try to form a European army, and everything is changing for the first time since World War II. Same for us. We are facing a new total surprise here, and everything is really under a big question mark. But this deal, the Saudi deal as it's called, is being discussed. So on one hand, we have a situation where the US administration, of course the Israeli government, is giving free hand to the settlers in the West Bank to do whatever they like. But on the other hand, we may expect some American pressure on Israel to accept this big deal and to pay a certain price on the Palestinian issue. Because Trump would like to have this big deal. People say he would like to have the Nobel Peace Prize or something else. I don't know, why not? So far, again, he proved that he can deliver vis-a-vis Netanyahu, and the proof is the ceasefire in Gaza and the ceasefire in Lebanon, whether we like it or not, but that is the reality. Now, the points of this deal that are being discussed, but again, First, it's an Israeli-Saudi agreement on normalization and the rest of the Arab or the Muslim world, creating a regional alliance against Iran. Of course, the Saudis would get a lot of benefits, including civil nuclear program and other things, rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip, maybe of Lebanon as well. There is a lot of money waiting for such a thing from Arab elements, maybe Europe, and maybe others. A new control mechanism in Gaza without the Hamas, with whom it is not yet clear, because one of the key obstacles to any deal is the objection of Netanyahu and also Trump for the Palestinian Authority to be involved. So if no Hamas and no Palestinian Authority, who will do this? Who will do this? This is not clear. Trump said again that the US will do it, but then American officials denied it. There is a new Arab plan as of now from Egypt. They are discussing it now. There is a plan by the Israeli opposition that Egypt will administer the Gaza Strip for a certain period of time. But the deal that is discussed with American officials is that there would be a Palestinian element also in this new administration of the Gaza Strip. Who is this element? How, when, where, I don't know. But this is what they use, those terms. Of course, there are the extremists in Israel that would like to resume the war, occupy the entire Gaza Strip, fulfill Trump's promise and deport, chase away all the inhabitants and recreate the settlements in Gaza. For the time being, this is not happening. But you can never tell. This is a risk. Another element of the deal is making this ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon. There are two ceasefires as final agreements. I mean, like permanent ceasefires. So far, these are temporary ceasefires. Of course, the release of all the hostages and the removal of Hamas as the governing entity in Gaza. Now, Americans are saying that they hear from their Arab counterparts that Hamas is considering some possibilities. But again, this is very, very vague. Now, the advantages and what we are trying in Israel, what we are trying to do vis-à-vis the Israeli public opinion is to stress the obvious advantages of such a deal. First of all, the end of the war. You must understand the misery and suffering, the killing on the Palestinian side is terrible, but also Israel suffered a lot and is suffering all the time, not just the hostages, but many people killed, destruction, evacuation of all the cities and the communes in the south and in the north for more than a year. It's a very big shock in Israel, and Israelis are tired and would like this war to end. This is not just my opinion, this is an overall feeling. So this would mean the end of the war, which is something that many people would like to have. Second is the release of the hostages. This is a national issue, the most burning and difficult matter for Israel. And there is an overall consensus, I would say, almost a consensus, that Israel should pay even a heavy price for the release of the hostages. So the hostages is a key element. Third is the replacement of Hamas. Also in political consensus in Israel, and this is right and left. This is a political consensus that Hamas should no longer be the governing power in Gaza. This is accepted by all Israelis, Who will replace Hamas? I'm in favor of the Palestinian Authority, but this is under debate. Of course, peace and normalization with Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries is a very popular idea in Israel. The Abraham Accords and the relations that we have with the Emirates, with Bahrain, with Morocco, are considered a big success for Israel and Netanyahu, and they are very popular among Israelis. So the idea of having Abraham Accords expanded to Saudi Arabia, which is the most important element, is a popular idea. And also it could benefit politically Netanyahu, who is, if there is election today, Netanyahu would lose, but if he comes up with this big Middle Eastern deal, expanding the Abraham Accord, he could regain his popularity. Of course, the obvious reasons, benefits for the Palestinians, end of the war in Gaza, new administration in Gaza Strip, economic rehabilitation. Okay. Of course, you know, there is a lot of skepticism, and I myself, I am a bit skeptic. I try to be optimistic. I'm skeptic because, unfortunately, the extreme right wing in Israel controls parts of the government and has a very strong influence over Netanyahu and the public opinion. And these people, unfortunately, they would like more war and more destruction and occupation, etc., etc. There is also another problem raised by different elements also within the Arab countries. Who is exactly the Palestinian element to control Gaza? This is a problem. It is a problem. The Palestinian Authority is not the ideal partner here. Now, I think that taking into account the situation we're facing with the new American administration, with the new attitude, with what's going on in Europe and around the world, the best way to promote the Israeli-Palestinian solution is to include it in a more broad deal, regional deal, accepted by the Arab countries, Israel, and the US. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult in the current situation, even as I told you yesterday, to talk today when you go. I'm a commentator on television, I have my show. When I talk about peace, they laugh at me. But when we talk about a regional deal with a Palestinian component, peace with Saudi Arabia, normalization, economic benefits, then this is considered as a good thing in Israel. And if I'm not mistaken, I think also considered as a good thing by the United States. Now, I think that this is something we should work on, we should promote. I think there is an opportunity. I think the Arab countries understand it. You know, the Trump ideas create a lot of fear in Egypt and Jordan. They're very worried about it. And so they come up as well with a plan for Gaza. This plan, as I see it, cannot stand on its own. It's part of a larger framework in the Middle East. I hope, and it depends not just on the Israeli government, but on other partners as well, that this is happening, that this will come true, this will happen. Otherwise, you know, it's a crossroads, because if we don't go there and there are no positive steps, then the US will have no problem of giving green light for renewal of the war and destruction, and this is a catastrophe. So I think we should take advantage of at least the primary American acceptance of this idea and to promote it. I think I didn't see, Yossi, did you see the plan of the Arab summit? Okay, this is a step. I also encourage you to read the different plans made by the Israeli opposition leaders Yair Lapid and Yair Golan for the solution in Gaza. And on the bottom line, there is this plan. As I said in the morning in our closed session, all the proposals today made in Israel to deal with the Gaza Strip are only sort of temporary, intermediate, tactic plans. Nobody is talking about the big picture and the solution to the core of the conflict. This is the only plan put forward that addresses the core problem of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And I think it should be part of the overall Middle Eastern deal that Trump hopefully would choose to promote. Again, as I hear from the Americans, there are a lot of advantages for them as they see it from this overall deal, especially Saudi Arabia, Gulf, Iran, all sorts of things. Maybe it would be adopted by the US, and it would be very difficult for Netanyahu to say no to this, because it's easy for him to say no to the Palestinian Authority because it's not popular in Israel, this whole idea of the Palestinian Authority taking control of the Gaza Strip. They succeeded, after many years of delegitimization of the Palestinian camp, to portray the Palestinian Authority as something similar of Hamas in Israeli public opinion. So for Israelis, they say they're the same. But an overall deal with other Arab countries, with Saudi Arabia, with Trump backing it, this is a different story. So I always like to end with a positive tone, quand même, not to make you miserable, because the situation is bad enough. So I prefer to see the positive scenario. Of course, Moratinos, I see you I agree. I agree. But look, we must try to make lemonades out of the lemons, you know. Otherwise, it would be too sour to eat. And we have a lot of lemons, unfortunately. And the only lemonade we can make out of it is to have, to work with the US administration. I don't see how we can. I mean, we are not Europe. You're discussing here in London creating a European army to break away from the US. We cannot do this, and the government will not do this, and nobody will do it in the Middle East. So we have to work with them. They come up with this Saudi deal idea, and I think we should try to work with them and to promote it. And I think we have only things to benefit, both us and the Palestinians, from this deal. And I think that about this initiative, I think that the best thing we can do now in Israel as supporters of this idea, and we are a minority, by the way, is to make a good PR campaign, press campaign, public campaign, political campaign, about bringing again back to the table the idea of the two-state solution in the form of the confederation, at least to balance a little bit the extreme debate that we have whether to ruin Gaza or to deport the Palestinians or crazy ideas that are being discussed. So this is a very positive idea, and I hope it will be part of a new positive thing that would come out of this terrible war, both for the Palestinians and for us. Thank you very much.